There's a situation going on kind of in the Star Wars fandom where obviously this last movie is just everyone's on one side or the other with it. For me, I didn't like it, but I could tolerate it. Not much different than the prequels, although this was bad in completely different ways than the prequels. But I've been hearing some talk on YouTube, and I don't mean to single out any particular YouTuber, but I'm gonna kind of do that. But this is a YouTuber, a Star Wars YouTuber she's absolutely fantastic. She's hilarious. I love her videos. So I'm not coming after her in any kind of negative way. I just want to respond to something that she said in one of her videos. Her name is Jenny. You probably already know her. Just search Jenny Star Wars. You'll see all her videos. She's really good. She's really entertaining. She's really funny. She liked The Last Jedi, which is awesome, and I'm happy for her. I'm jealous. I wish I liked it. She did not like Rogue One, and that's too bad. I mean, that's sad because of course, we wish we could love every Star Wars movie. So that's too bad. But that's not a big deal. I mean, like, it's not a problem anyway. There's another great Star Wars YouTuber who I know everyone's heard of, Hello Greedo, and he has a video where he talks about how it's okay if you like a Star Wars movie, and it's okay if you don't. You're not an idiot either way, and there's nothing wrong with you. I mean, that's just different people are gonna like different movies. And I'm not saying that Janie does not agree with that. She does, I'm sure. But she did say something that I took maybe the wrong way. I don't know. But she said something along the lines. And let me say real quick though that I don't have any right really to talk about these YouTubers. I'm absolutely brand new, but this is just something I want to talk about. The Star Wars. I mean, The Last Jedi is new. It's just out, so I don't know if it really matters that I'm brand new. These are some of the most popular YouTubers ever. They have millions and millions of views. I have 3 subscribers, and one of them is my mom. So obviously, I'm absolutely nothing on YouTube, but just in case someone comes across this, this is something I want to get out there. What she said was something along the lines of, ask people who didn't like The Last Jedi, and I bet 80% of them loved Rogue One. And I think the implication, I apologize if I'm wrong, but I think the implication is something like, hey, if you didn't like The Last Jedi, you liked Rogue One, there's a good chance you're just like a little fanboy who needs to have his Darth Vader and see him cut people's heads off and action and Star Warsy stuff. But when it comes to a deep movie that has really good character development and strong plot and everything like that, oh, it's not good because I didn't get to see Luke fight with a lightsaber. I didn't get to see Snoke and his whole deal. I didn't get to see who he was. My fan theories didn't come true. Blah blah blah. And she did not say any of that. That's what I'm getting from that. And I just want to defend a large portion of the fans who liked Rogue One and did not like The Last Jedi because I think that that's not true. What I just said, I think that that's true for a very small percentage. I think the vast majority didn't like The Last Jedi because it wasn't that good of a movie, in our opinion. And we liked Rogue One because it was just a better movie and it was just more enjoyable. And I'm gonna get into the specifics here real quick. The Last Jedi. She has another video. Jenny has a really interesting video called "The Top 10 Reasons, Worst Reasons You Hated Rogue One." And it's interesting as I watched it, kind of worried, like, I bet she's gonna have a whole bunch of the reasons that I have for not liking it, and none of them were. None of them were. Every single one of those 10 reasons was not a reason I hated The Last Jedi. In fact, most of them I was perfectly okay with, and I didn't even mind. Some of them I even loved, like the reveal of Rey's parents. Didn't bother me one bit, and I loved that scene. Um, Snoke dying, I thought that was a cool idea, man. Snoke just dies, boom. Like, who saw that coming? That was really cool. Just because you didn't see it coming doesn't make it good. But in this case, it's like, wow, Snoke is dead, just like that. I'm not saying I wasn't curious about his backstory. Sure, I'm curious where he came from. I still am. I'm sure there'll be a book. I'm sure there'll be a video game. I'm sure there'll be a Snoke movie. Who knows what'll come out? But you know what? For the purposes of this one movie, do I need to know? No, I don't need to know. I thought that was a cool scene. I talk about that scene in my review. I didn't like every single thing about the scene, but I definitely overall I didn't have a problem with it. It kind of and when you kill a character off like that when no one expects it, it's pretty cool. Like it reminds me of an old movie called Psycho with Janet Leigh, and Janet Leigh was the main character, and Janet Leigh at the time was a huge star. Everyone was going to see this movie to see Janet Leigh. She's a huge superstar. She's a major actress. She's going to be the main protagonist, and 20 minutes into the movie, she's dead. She gets chopped up, and it's just like wow, just messed me. I'm sorry, I just completely spoiled you for. But if you haven't seen Psycho by now, it's been like 60 years. So anyway, moving on. That's the thing about it. I really didn't. None of those things bothered me that she talked about in that film, so, in that video. So I'm happy about that. Makes me feel a little better. But I think a lot of the fans that the stuff didn't bother them. I think there's a large portion of fans who simply didn't like it because it wasn't that good. What wasn't good about it? I'm gonna throw another link in my description to a video by a guy who's not even a big Star Wars fan who says it's objectively a bad movie. Is I'm not saying I completely agree with that statement, but he makes some great points in that video. And I'll tell you my points, the things that I didn't like about it, was just the director's style, constantly twisting everything. Like, oh, this is going to happen. Oh, never mind, that's not going to happen. Oh, this is going to happen. Oh, this person's dead. Oh, never mind, they're not dead. Over and over and over to the point that it became predictable. And I don't want a movie. Who wants the movie to be predictable? The reason we don't watch spoiler videos is because we don't want to know what's going to happen. But Ryan Johnson's style, you start to kind of figure out what's going to happen. And not just that, I mean, we already know about Disney and how they push their political agenda in movies. It got a little bit over the top in this one. It got a little bit obvious, and I can ignore it to an extent, but I couldn't really ignore it anymore. The humor was a little too much and not really. It got a little out of place, and it ruined some of the moments for me. I mean, it wasn't that bad. It was funny. But these are just things that overall I didn't like the movie. Is that okay? Not a lot of people are like me. We just didn't like it. We didn't like the director's style, and we didn't like the movie. It doesn't mean we're fanboys. It doesn't mean that we need to see Luke Skywalker fight with a lightsaber. It doesn't mean Luke Skywalker. Yeah, a lot of us were surprised, including Mark Hamill. We were surprised the direction they took Luke Skywalker, but it didn't make or break the movie. That's the thing about it. Luke Skywalker thinking for an instant about killing his nephew, is that in line with Luke Skywalker? Not really, but does that mean just because it's not in his character doesn't mean it can't happen? Okay, it's not. It wasn't in my character to drink and drive and get a DUI last night, but it happened. So, bottom line is, hey, these things happen in life, and things happen in Star Wars life. So that thing didn't bother me. The whole plot didn't bother me. I didn't like the casino scene. Most people didn't like that whole casino plot because it looked kind of like the prequels, and it was just a little. It was a little too much, but hey, that didn't even make or break the movie for me. It's just I didn't like it. I didn't like the director's style. I didn't like the feel. I didn't like much about it. I didn't enjoy myself. I walked out feeling disappointed. Okay, that's all there is to it. And as for Rogue One, real quick, Rogue One, again, maybe they didn't have the greatest character development, but I don't go in a movie with my notepad and my pen after getting out of film class, and I can just kind of keep track of how the characters are developing, how their arcs are. This guy didn't have an arc, and this guy didn't have an arc. That's not good. I don't do that. I just go in and try to enjoy the movie, and what happens happens. Look, Rogue One felt like a Star Wars movie, and it had some great action. I liked the characters, whether they were developed or had arcs or not. What do I care about? If the only arc I care about is if there's going to be a flood and I need to get in an arc. Other than that, I'm fine with arcs. I mean, yes, I could see the criticisms. I just liked it. I enjoyed the movie, and it's not because of Darth Vader cutting off heads. About Darth Vader, if he wasn't in the movie, I still would have liked it, but it would have actually been weird. I, more than anyone, hate when characters get thrown in our face who don't belong. Watch my 10 worst Star Wars moments. I hate that. R2-D2, C-3PO, the Wookiee. What are these guys doing in the prequels? Greedo, what are these guys doing there? They don't belong. I hate it. Hate, 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 hate. But look, Darth Vader was on that Death Star shortly before Episode 4 and one of the major authority figures on that Death Star. It would make sense that he'd be walking around and, chewing some people out. So it didn't bother me. And at the end, when he was, killing people and had his lightsaber out, let's not act like he was just killing people for no reason and it was just for fanboys. They were trying to get those plans down the hall and through the door, and they were trapped. It was really intense. It was freaking wild. And let's also not act like, but what would this look like to someone who has never seen a Star Wars movie? We have seen Star Wars movies. We know what's going on. We're Star Wars fans, and most people who watch this are Star Wars fans. And even if they're not, they know who Darth Vader is. They know the deal with this. What percentage of people are watching this like not enjoying it because it's not a perfect movie. If it was not part of the Star Wars universe, it would be kind of weird. Maybe, and I still don't see it too weird. I mean, they got the plans through, they got him to Princess Leia, and it ended happy, and we know what's going on. It's a segue into Episode 4. I just don't get it. The criticism of some of the things that are criticized in this movie. I mean, that's fine if you didn't like the movie because Darth Vader was in it. I guess it's fine. I'm not going to say, your whatever reason you don't like a movie for, that's your reason. It doesn't matter what it is. I don't care if you said I don't like them. I didn't like this The Last Jedi because the popcorn was nasty. Guess what? That's your reason, and you're entitled to that. You're entitled to that opinion. But for me, it didn't bother me because my popcorn was nasty too. But that didn't bother me as far as whether I liked or not dislike the movie. But if that is your reasoning, hey, who am I to say it's a bad reason? That's your reason. It wouldn't be my reason. That's all I could say. That would not be my reason. And Darth Vader being in a movie where he belonged, had a couple of badass scenes, but he wasn't like shoved in our face like most of the film. He just had a small role. Doesn't bother me. It kind of adds to the film. That's all I have to say. I mean, and I think a lot of fans are the same. We liked Rogue One because it was fun, it was enjoyable. The characters were great. Maybe they weren't developed, perfectly according to film class, but it was a fun ride. I enjoyed it. And hey, that's all I have to say. I liked it. Okay, I didn't like Rogue One. I mean, excuse me, I didn't like The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi was just a big disappointment to me, and that's all. And a lot of fans feel the same. They just didn't like the movie. It has nothing to do with our fan theory. It has nothing to do with Luke wasn't new. It sure didn't stop us from liking the movie. In fact, the movie was okay. I've never said it was horrible. I would never give it an F. But when I go into there expecting after I watch those trailers, I'm expecting an A, and at least a B movie, not a B. I shouldn't say a B movie. You know what I mean, though. Like as a grade, a B plus or whatever. But I expected a great movie and it wasn't. So I was disappointed. I was really hurt. But anyway, just want to defend fans out there who didn't like The Last Jedi, who did like Rogue One. We're not idiots. We're not fanboys. We may be fanboys, but that's not the reason we didn't like The Last Jedi. We can deal with change. We can deal with new things. We can deal with characters not, being portrayed as we would hope. We can deal with characters dying who we didn't expect to die. All that stuff, it's all good in the hood. But when you just make a bad movie, it's just a bad movie.